Well, that's
Action.
just awesome.
That is awesome.
I know, right?
Feels official.
I'm an actor now?
Yeah,
I'm
and
like,
now that
I'm in
our
Hollywood.
Beer With segment includes a YouTube channel, that makes a lot of sense. We've got a little video element here. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, welcome. And for those of you listening on the radio show and the podcast, thanks for joining us as well. We're a multimedia company now, right?
Yes. Multitudes of media.
Except in order to be considered a company, I guess you're supposed to be making money, not just spending it.
We're a
Yeah.
multimedia nonprofit.
Yeah.
right.
There you go.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to our Beer With segment this week. This is Zach hanging out with our usual co-host, Mama Calls Me Kevin. But today we also have our guest co-host who is filling in. We are pre-recording this interview for one main reason, and that is that we love beer and we can't drink beer in the studio, but we found out if we pre-record outside of the studio, we can enjoy a cold beverage, which we'll get to in just a minute. But our guest co-host today is Tony Schmitt, which we've
Hello,
dubbed
everyone.
our resident Cicerone.
Thank you. I'm honored to be so.
Who are you filling in for?
Yeah, wait a minute. Yes, Cicerone. That's me. Yeah, whatever. Yeah,
Tony
Tony Cicerone. Yeah, you know.
I love that. So thanks, Tony, again for filling in for Mama Calls Me Kevin this upcoming week.
Oh, of
hanging
course,
out
of
with
course.
us. So I reached out to Tony and I said, hey, we need to do an interview for the show. What do you have in mind? And Tony suggested this, and it was a great suggestion, that
Thank
we
you.
sit down with a brewery operator who has food sales. That's important because included in Knox County's phase 1 of reopening, breweries with food had the opportunity to open outside spaces and to be at 50% capacity and certain things like that. So we are also joined right now with a good friend of ours, an owner brewer here at Last Days of Autumn, Mike Frede. How you doing, Mike?
Good. How are you, sir?
We're doing good, man. Thanks for hanging out with us, and thanks for your time and
Yeah,
letting
man.
us pick your brain about what this experience has been like from your perspective. So
Sure.
Appreciate it. Well, it's called Beer With for a reason.
That's right.
Let's start off with this beer that we have in front of us. This is the Oracle 3.
Number 3.
So tell us about the Oracle 3, Mike.
It's so we started this series about, 4 months ago. It's a single hop pale ale. Our first one was made with Cascade, second one with Columbus, and this time we just grabbed some random that we haven't played with hops. We grabbed Idaho Gem. And it's supposed to be fruity, kind of like Jolly Rancher, a little citrusy, and man, it came out. It's phenomenal. I love this beer, so it's good.
That's tasty.
Awesome. Well, cheers.
Yeah.
gentlemen.
Cheers, everybody.
I got the big cup.
I love the aroma on it. I see what you mean by sort of that hint of candy,
Yeah.
kind of like a jolly. I just smelled the microphone. I meant to smell my beer. Promise this is the first one
Strange
I've had.
days.
Nice. So there'll be an Oracle 4 at some point.
There will be.
Keep on keeping on.
Yep, we'll keep
Just
doing
all
this.
single hops kind of things?
Yeah, they're all
Cool.
single hops. I think our next one coming is Sabro hops.
Okay.
Well, as always, this is very chuggable, and I've said this before, but Last Days is the only brewery that I know of in Knoxville that you can get beer by the pitcher. Not currently, but pre this. And I could definitely drink a pitcher of this beer.
I have
No,
drank a pitcher of that beer.
It's delicious. Well, let's get into it. And so I wanted to start off with a question that I had, which was, our office here at Knox Brew Tours is located in the basement, so I luckily get to see you 3 or 4 times a week.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember, rewind almost 8 weeks ago, your perspective of the COVID-19 thing as it was coming down the pipeline. You seemed very concerned about it way before a lot of other brewery operators were.
Yeah.
What was that kind of like? And as it all started to hit, what was kind of going on in the world of Last Days of
I'm not
Autumn?
even sure why I picked up on it so early, but it seemed like it was trending, and so I really just kept an eye on it for the month prior to it even getting into Knoxville like it did. But at that point, the media attention to it wasn't that great. So there was a lot of articles that had some really good perspective. They weren't so politically slanted at the time, so you really got some good information early on. So
That's a really interesting point. Yeah. Okay, so I guess it was the 4th week of March was when really there was a moment where it was like, okay, this is happening. Like
Yeah.
we're all the transition has begun.
I mean, I was in. I think I was in. Where was I? I was out of state, and it was. Oh no, I was in Asheville. Well, out of state anyway. The NFL when the NBA shut down.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is a little weird. Like,
And then the
this is going to be
NCAA
different.
tournament,
And it
the
was
March
all like
Madness
within
was-
like 1 to 2 days. Like all this stuff got canceled. All this stuff was changing, and then all of a sudden it was like, this is really real.
Yeah, once you see the NBA, Major League Baseball,
Yeah,
you know
they
this is-
don't throw away money.
Yeah,
you
they
know?
don't do that. You know.
So, and just a little bit of background, Tony is not only our resident Cicerone, you're also the general manager of the Casual Pint Beer and Casual Pint Fountain City.
Yeah.
What was going on in Casual Pints world the fourth week of March?
Well, I mean, I remember I was sitting there, doing my thing, and actually, the guy from next door came in, and he had heard already what was going on, where it was like, yeah, we're gonna close, and we had till 8. We found out we had till 8 p.m. that night, but it was no more open to the public. Like you're gonna have to do carry out and delivery, and so we just switched it into high gear. Luckily, we had just switched over our POS system to something that supported carry out and delivery, so we just started developing that immediately. We got posters up that said, hey, we're still open, come on inside. Like, we were always allowed to have people inside to buy beer. You had to come in, buy your beer, and leave. We started working on delivery strategies and carry out strategies, and we just went, as fast and as hard as we can. And, besides doing the general manager stuff, I also do a lot of franchise support for our stores across the country, and so it was really tricky because different states are doing different things, and also
reacting to it very differently.
yeah, and also most of our other stores outside of Knoxville have a food component, so they've been able to open, at most of their places for about 3 weeks now, and so it's been interesting to try to guide them and help them, and we've been switching everybody else over to that POS system and getting them able to delivery and carry out really effectively, and that's been really, really helpful, but it's still kind of crazy.
I like to use the analogy of spending 10 years becoming a professional golfer. You have the best equipment and intimate knowledge of the sport. You're at the top of your game, and you show up one day, and they're like, cool, now you need to golf left-handed. And
Yeah.
it's like,
How good are you really?
and it's like you're still an expert, right?
Yeah.
You still have an intimate knowledge, both of you, Mike and Tony. You have an intimate knowledge of selling beer, of how to sell beer, of who's buying beer, of the industry, of everything. But suddenly you have to now instantly, in a moment, do it in a different way than you've been doing it. And it's like, in the case of the left-handed golfer, you now suck. And you're a professional. You're a professional golfer, and you have to work 3 times as hard to hopefully get 47th place.
That might be the best analogy
Yeah.
I've ever heard about that.
Yeah, no, that really works.
Left-handed.
Because I know here at Last Days, I've seen you guys work what feels like 3 times harder for
It doesn't
less
look that way.
reward, right?
Oh, it is. I mean,
So when this first happened and you had to transition into to-go only and delivery, what was probably the biggest challenge that you had to deal with immediately that first week, and what was maybe the easiest transition for you all?
we closed down about 4 days before it actually came from the city. I mean, so we were already looking at it. First thing was, get with the employees, let them know what's going on, lay them off. Let them get going on unemployment. But I went through the strategy of this is, after we saw what we were allowed to do is, they're talking about essential, non-essential. Well, essential is food, and so that's what we focused on. How can we make, food that, families, they need to buy because they need to feed themselves. The grocery stores were struggling when this started, so, family packs and, cool things and pairing
that
up.
the burrito bowl thing
Yeah,
that you all did.
burrito bowl, pairing up with Knox Brew Tours for delivery. We came up with that probably the same time.
We probably did that the first or second week of April.
The essential part. I love beer, but I don't necessarily call it essential. But food's essential, and that's kind of what we focused on to keep this thing going.
Those burrito bowls were really cool. Basically, you were able to make a full meal, and people were coming in and prepaying for them to give them to service industry members who needed a meal, or even families that needed a meal. And I thought that was really special.
That was wonderful.
Okay, so what was probably the biggest challenge of shifting to go and delivery only?
The supply chain. I don't know. people are going to the grocery store and they see there's no meat, there's no toilet paper, there's no this and that. Well, we're going through the same thing, and it's, you try to order beef. There's no beef in the supply chain like this week,
Yeah.
1 week, I mean, it could be things like, honestly, like I can't get a thing of sour cream. I mean, simple things you would think aren't that hard to get. They're not in the supply chain right now. And if it's on your menu and it's a regular item, you're SOL. I mean,
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, so that's been the trickiest one. And then the price swings on it too,
And so there's an inconsistency of the pricing.
Oh, I've seen certain items, almost quadruple. I mean, since this started.
What has gotten cheaper?
Well, there's a lot of specials out there too, With the supply chain, there's the things that are short, but then there's the things that restaurants aren't using because they're closed, and those are sitting in a warehouse. And so you can pick some of those things up pretty cheap right now. And that's a lot of what our specials have been, or things we've worked with our supplier, because I worked for the supplier for years.
Yeah, you had a background in.
I got a background in it, so I was able to work with them and really work up some good deals and some good, family packs and things like that,
You look like you have a question. Did you have a question?
No, I was actually just thinking about all those delicious specials.
I'm hungry.
Yeah.
All right. Once again, this is Zach here hanging out with Mama Calls Me Kevin, our guest host Tony Cicerone, and Mike from Last Days of Autumn. We're talking about what it's been like for Last Days of Autumn during this COVID-19 pandemic and how they've adjusted their business. Okay, so pretty much the entire month of April is to-go only and delivery. I also noticed you guys spent a lot of time expanding your beer garden space outside, hopefully in preparation for phase one. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we did. We figure, when places do start opening up, people still aren't going to want to spend a lot of time indoors. They're going to want to be outside, And so, we started working on that actually right after this started because, we did have some free time here and there.
That has been one thing that's been really fun. Fun, maybe not the right word. But it's been really interesting to see every brewery in Knoxville, every business in Knoxville has taken this time to do a project that they've been meaning to do. They just keep putting off. We talked on the show last week about Downtown Grill and Brewery, completely shut down and renovated their entire wood floors.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I know at Knox
Good
Brew
time to
Tours,
do it.
At Knox Brew Tours, we've done some stuff on the buses. So that's a good use of your time during. That's, I guess, trying to be optimistic about the shutdown. So phase one rolled out 2 weeks ago. It basically said you guys could have 50% capacity.
50% capacity.
People outside. You guys kept the inside shut down for the first little bit, and then it forced everyone outside. What has phase one been like for you? How did things change, and how do you feel about it?
It really hasn't changed. I mean, we didn't really open up anything until last Friday. So, I mean, it really hadn't changed until last week. And even this weekend, it still hasn't been, it hasn't been crazy. It's been, a couple tables here and there. People are being pretty respectful, it seems like, So, yeah, it feels a little bit normal for a change. Not completely normal, but,
Yeah.
the new normal.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any anticipations or what do you think the future, the next, I guess that's an impossible question.
I'm not even going to try on the future.
It's
I'm not even
something
gonna
new every
try.
day,
I mean, it's luckily we're pretty small. We can adapt pretty quick. So, I mean, it's, hell, before this, I lived day to day sometimes, man. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I am not an oracle.
Cheers to that. Yeah, that's funny. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, Tony or Kevin. Do you guys have any other questions about opening or reopening a brewery during this pandemic?
I don't know, Tony.
Not really. I mean, how's the you said the public's been kind of slow. They're more focusing on the outside. We've seen a lot of that too.
Yeah, I mean, it's been one or two tables here and there. They're sitting apart. One up front, one towards the back.
What is on your plate to responsibility wise for that? Do you just need to not have that many tables in here, kind of thing, compared to what you used to have?
Yeah, we only have 20 seats in here right now inside, and we've set up if we anticipate getting anywhere close to capacity. I have Tracy's actually working as basically our coordinator, where she's not doing any of the actual duties behind the bar. She's literally going to be on the floor, directing anything she sees that needs attention.
Gotcha.
Okay. Talking to people, whatever we need to do to make sure everyone's staying safe. So
Cool.
Yeah.
That's all you can do, I guess. That's good.
All right, I've got one more question.
okay.
Fast forward 10 years from now. When you look back at owning a brewery during this time period, what is something a positive thing that you've experienced that you'll never forget?
Oh, I've actually, as far as, a little bit of my history as far as cooking and, some of the things that I've adapted to and had to create off the fly has really helped me develop, some of my culinary skills that I don't think I had necessarily before this started, even 2 months ago.
Wow.
And I'm really getting more into it, enjoying it. And I'm sure you've seen some of the specials we're running, and we keep getting more creative. And some of them we just, we come up with, let's try this, and then we just both laugh at it. Go, yeah, that's a little too crazy,
Yeah.
I think every business in some way has been pushed to do something that wasn't on their radar or something that they wouldn't have normally done. That I think will continue when this is over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You find a lot of things that actually work for you that you may not have tested before this. So a lot of models are going to change. A lot of businesses are going to change because of this.
Yeah, fascinating. Well, Mike, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for hanging out with us and talking a little bit about Last Days of Autumn. What's the best place for people to connect with what you all are doing and to stay up to date on your hours and your specials and everything going on with Last Days?
We keep most of it on our Facebook or our webpage. Especially our food specials. They're on our Facebook page all the time. Mm-hmm. Or just stop by or you can give me a call. That's on the same number that's on our Facebook or webpage. It's my cell phone number, so I'll answer.
I love that. All right. Well, gentlemen, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for your time. This is our Beer With segment of the week. Go Pack.
Go Pack, go.
All right. Cheers.